Welcome to Applied Wisdom, Literature for Living Better. Today we're diving into Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens, a brief history of humankind. This is basically your shortcut to some really big ideas about us humans, why we are the way we are, and how our deep past shapes everything now. If you're on that personal growth path, understanding our collective story, well, it can be super insightful. So let's unpack some key things that might give you a fresh look at your own life and the world.
Absolutely. And Sapiens is great for that because Harari really zooms out. He looks at the massive picture. It's not just dates and names. It's about the forces that shaped humanity. And yeah, for personal growth, seeing those patterns, it gives context to so much of what we deal with today.
Let's jump right in then. Harari talks a lot about shared fictions. Sounds a bit weird at first, right? It's all fake.
Yeah, it can sound like that, but it's more like our unique superpower is believing in things together, things that aren't, physical objects. Think about nations or money, laws, even human rights. They don't exist like a chair exists.
Right.
But we all agree they're real, and that agreement lets us cooperate in huge numbers.
Right. Like I cooperate with people at work I barely know because we all believe in the company or the project or whatever.
Exactly. Or think about money itself, that piece of paper or just numbers on a screen.
It only works because we all buy into it.
Precisely. It's collective belief. So Harari's point is this ability is key to why sapiens, us, dominate the planet.
So how does thinking about this help me in my day-to-day?
Well, it makes you look at the rules around you differently, doesn't it? The culture at work, the norms in your community, even family dynamics. So much of it is built on these shared understandings, these fictions. Recognizing them helps you navigate things, maybe understand conflicts better too.
Yeah, when those shared stories clash, knowing the rules of the game you're playing.
Exactly. And Harari contrasts us with other species, like ants cooperate, but it's rigid, hardwired.
Right.
Chimps cooperate, but only in small, flexible groups where everyone knows each other. We somehow manage both. Massive scale and flexibility, all thanks to believing in these shared stories.
And this led to culture changing way faster than biology, right? Ideas spread.
Spot on. Cultural evolution took off because we could share and change these fictions so quickly, much faster than waiting for genes to change.
Which brings us to the cognitive revolution. This was, 70,000 years ago? A big jump in brain power.
Yeah, likely some kind of genetic tweak, changing how our brains were wired. And the key outcome seems to be complex language.
Language. Okay, what was so special about our language?
Harari highlights two things. One, sharing loads of detailed info about the world and, crucially, about other people.
Gossip theory. So knowing who's reliable, who's cheating, that kind of thing.
Basically, yeah. Social information is vital for cooperation. But the really unique thing, he argues, is the second part.
Which is?
The ability to talk about things that don't exist. Abstract concepts. Fictions.
The fiction hypothesis again. So not just, look out, a lion, but the tribal spirit protects us, or let's plan to build that thing next season.
Exactly. Discussing myths, future possibilities, laws, gods. This ability to create a shared reality through words is foundational.
Wow. So my ability to, plan my week or believe in certain values, it stems from that revolution.
In a way, yes. That capacity for abstract thought and complex communication underpins almost everything we do personally and professionally.
Mind blown. Let's shift gears. The agricultural revolution, around 10,000 BCE. Harari calls it history's biggest fraud.
It is strong and provocative. His argument isn't that farming was bad overall for the species expansion, but that it might have been a raw deal for the average individual.
How so? More food sounds good.
Well, it was maybe slightly more reliable food initially, but that led to population growth,
Okay.
which meant you needed more food, so more intensive farming. People settled down, became dependent on a few crops like wheat or rice.
Feeding to.
A less varied diet, potentially more malnutrition compared to foragers, more backbreaking labor, and living close together with livestock. More disease. Plus, crop failures meant famine.
So we traded a potentially freer, maybe healthier life for drudgery and vulnerability just to feed more mouths.
That's the core of his luxury trap argument. A small convenience snowballs into a bigger burden. We got locked in.
It sounds depressingly familiar, like getting stuck in a routine that doesn't really fulfill you.
And this era also demanded new imagined orders to manage these bigger societies.
Imagined orders, like laws and gangs and stuff.
Exactly. Hierarchies, legal codes like Hammurabi's, social structures, ways to organize thousands of people who don't know each other personally, all built on shared belief in the system.
More shared fictions, basically.
Yep. needed to keep large agricultural societies from falling apart.
So moving on through history, Harari talks about unification, how humanity got more interconnected. What drove that?
He points to three big things, which are still super relevant today. First, money.
Money, the ultimate shared fiction.
Pretty much. It's a system of mutual trust that allows economic exchange between total strangers. Doesn't matter if you worship different gods or live continents apart, you both trust the value of that coin or that number.
From barley to Bitcoin, it's all about belief.
Second, empires. Now, obviously, often built on conquest and oppression.
Definitely a dark side.
But they also tended to break down smaller local identities and spread common languages, laws, cultures over vast areas. Think Roman Empire or British Empire. They connected people, even if forcibly.
Okay. And the third?
Religion. Specifically universal religions like Christianity, Islam, Buddhism. They offered shared truths, moral codes, and identities that transcended local boundaries and ethnicity.
So money, empire, religion, these big forces, often interacting, pushed humanity towards greater global connection.
That's the argument. They provided common ground, common systems, common stories that allowed larger and larger groups to cooperate or at least interact.
And you can definitely see how those forces still shape our world. Globalization, cultural exchange.
Absolutely. Now, related to this is another key point Harari makes. Culture versus biology.
Right. He says a lot of the hierarchies we see, race, gender, class, are cultural inventions, not biological facts.
Exactly. He argues that while biology sets a certain stage, the specific ways societies create and enforce these divisions are based on myths and invented stories, not inherent biological destiny.
Like the justifications for slavery or rigid gender roles. They were stories people told and believed.
Yes. Stories that served certain interests, often. It encourages us to really question things we assume are natural about social structures. Where do these ideas really come from?
That's powerful. It makes you look at the labels and boxes we put ourselves and others in much more critically.
It does. It's about recognizing the power of the stories we collectively tell and live by.
Fast forward again, the scientific revolution.
Yeah.
Huge changes, technology. But Harari asks a really big question here.
The question of happiness.
Has all this progress actually made us happier?
It's a central, almost haunting question in the book. The scientific revolution was built on admitting ignorance, seeking knowledge through observation, experimentation.
And it teamed up with empire and capitalism.
Right.
Science provided tools, empires provided scope, capitalism funded it all.
Right. A powerful feedback loop leading to incredible technological leaps, longer lifespans for many, but also huge challenges like ecological damage driven by the capitalist need for perpetual growth.
The happiness.
Yeah.
Did it grow too?
That's the rub. Harari points to studies suggesting that beyond a certain basic level, increased wealth and power don't necessarily correlate strongly with increased subjective well-being.
The hedonic treadmill idea. You get something new, feel good for a bit, then adapt and want the next thing.
Pretty much. We might be richer and more powerful than our ancestors, but are we more content, more fulfilled? It's not clear we are. He suggests our expectations rise just as fast as our conditions improve.
That really hits home for personal growth, doesn't it? What are we actually chasing? Is always better for our internal state?
It's a profound question for self-reflection. What truly brings meaning, connection, contentment? It might not be the things progress usually measures.
Which leads to his thoughts on the future, where we might be heading with bioengineering, AI.
Yeah, the power we now have to potentially reshape not just the world, but ourselves. Genetic engineering, cyborgs, creating non-organic life.
We're becoming like gods, maybe. But do we know what we want?
That's his closing challenge, really. Are we becoming dissatisfied gods, incredibly powerful but clueless about what would actually bring fulfillment, or what kind of future is genuinely desirable?
Wow. So from ancient fictions to future gods, it's quite a journey.
It really is. Sapiens connects the dots across vast stretches of time in a way that makes you rethink, well, almost everything.
So wrapping up, the big takeaway seems to be understanding these deep patterns, shared fictions, revolutions, the drivers of unification, the happiness question. It gives you tools to understand your own life and the world more deeply.
Absolutely. It provides a framework, a very broad one, for thinking about your own beliefs, motivations, and your place in this ongoing human story.
As you go about your day then, maybe consider those invisible stories, those shared fictions that shape your interactions. Think about that long journey from the savannah to now, and maybe ask yourself that happiness question. Thank you for diving deep with us today on Applied Wisdom, Literature for Living Better. Stay tuned for the next one. And hey, if this sparks some new thoughts for you, please do like and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel reach more people.